I speak 12 languages and you don't, because I do these 5 things consistently and you don't. I learn lists of sentences for specific conversations. I learn a lot more words than you and a lot faster. I train my speaking skills. Speaking is a skill that needs to be trained. I use translation to correct my mistakes. And of course, I listen to the language a lot. If you want to become fluent in a foreign language, you need to start doing these 5 things consistently. So let's look at them one by one. The first thing you need is to start by learning sentences, useful sentences. You need to write down everything you want to say in every possible situation, conversation, scenario, absolutely everything that you want to say in the language. You translate it and you learn it. Those should be your core sentences. This is more important than anything else. If you just do this, you should be able to speak relatively well soon, right? So you write down everything you want to say, you translate it, you create audio files, you listen to them, you repeat them aloud until you're able to say all those 500, 1,000, 2,000 sentences that you need, because that will take you to fluency really quickly. Words. You need to learn words en masse, really fast, because otherwise you will not be able to understand or speak the language. This is really important as well. You not only need to learn all the important sentences that you need to use in conversation, you also need to learn vocabulary extremely fast. Not only the vocab that's included in those sentences, in those core sentences, you also need a lot more vocab to be able to understand everything else, because you will hear things that you didn't include in your sentences and you need to understand those as well. So you need to learn vocab really fast as well. For this, I highly recommend you use mnemonic associations, because otherwise it's going to take years for you to learn enough words. Realistically, you need between 5,000 and 10,000 words of vocab to understand a language well. So you better start learning vocab faster. Then you also need to do a lot of speaking practice, because speaking is a skill, like I said earlier, and if you don't practice this skill actively, you will never become fluent. If you only learn by listening or watching videos and that kind of stuff that's very popular these days, you will have no real speaking practice. Even if you spend time with native speakers occasionally, if you don't treat speaking as a skill that you're training every single day on your own, your speaking will never be very good. All right, so you need to start practicing your speaking on your own. Yeah, for this, I highly recommend shadowing. You listen and repeat, and you listen to the sentences and you keep repeating them aloud over and over. But also, you take those sentences that I talked about earlier, your own sentences, translate it, and you say them aloud. You just repeat them aloud over and over and over again. And this will help you become fluent way faster. Translation, also really important. And you should use those sentences, those core sentences first. You translate from your language into the target language, and then you check if you said it correctly or not, or if you've written it correctly or not. Although I do recommend doing this in speaking, not in writing, because you want to be able to speak, right? Fluency means being able to speak, so let's focus on speaking. Translation is really good because it makes you think in the language. You have to produce the language and then you see if you got it right or not. So you think in the language, you become more fluent, force yourself to say things in the language, and then you also get feedback, instant feedback every single time. So you make fewer and fewer mistakes the more translation work you do. And finally, of course, a lot of listening. And this is something that most of you, or a lot of you, are already doing. It's the only thing that you're doing right. A lot of you, just watching lots of videos, listening to podcasts, things like that. All of that's fine. But just by doing that, it's going to take years. And even then, okay, you'll understand the language, but you will never really speak it well. So yeah, you need to do a lot of listening. But I highly recommend you start by listening to the text-to-speech audio of the sentences that you've written and you've translated into the language, the sentences that you want to be able to say. It's boring, I know, but it's extremely effective. If you have 1,000 sentences, personalized, relevant sentences that you've written and translated, and it's your own words translated into the target language, and you generate audio files for it, it's an hour or two of audio that you can binge listen to, and you can very quickly learn to say all of that, and then you can transition to more interesting materials once you're able to do that, once you're able to understand all of those sentences and also to replicate them, once you're able to say them. So those are the 5 things you should be doing. If you're not doing all those things every single day, you're wasting your time, and you should stop wasting time because time is valuable.